Hello?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Val Redeman with Blue Flamingo. We have Kate and Josh up there as well, helping out tonight. First of all, Happy New Year, right? It's the beginning of a new decade. Awesome. And welcome to the first community information meeting of the year. Tonight we will be focusing on the homeowners rebuild checklist. And so we'll be going over that. Susan Hartman will be going over that in detail. We'll also be hearing from the Contractor State Licensing Board, and also Disaster Recovery Manager Laura Page will talk a little bit about the very important tree ROE program. So the format is the same as what we've always had. So they will go back to back with their presentations. There will be no Q&A during that, just so we can keep everybody on pace. At the conclusion of the meeting, everyone will be located in the back gym this time, because along with not only your guests, we also have a lot of contractors that are back there that are excited to talk with you. So there's quite a few of them. So we'd love to have you guys stop by, say hello, and see what they have to offer. We're hoping to have everything wrapped up around 8 o'clock, so you all can go home and enjoy the rest of your evening. And at that time, again, all three of these folks will be in that back room where you can ask your questions. Okay, at this point, I'm going to turn the mic over to Laura Page. You got it?
Good evening, everyone. I just want to briefly give you a little update on the hazard tree removal program. First off, I just want to say we really appreciate your patience. We know it's been a little confusing about what roads are included, what roads aren't. I just want to confirm tonight that right now what's currently approved are private property on public roads. And we are still, please be patient with us. We're working diligently on the private road right-of-ways, and we're expecting to hear something very soon. We've been working on, even though we keep saying that at meetings, I just want you to know that there has been a lot of progress as we go back and forth with the state and FEMA on additional information that they need in order to make this very important decision. And when they do make it, it will be a final decision. So at that point, we'll really be able to clear up who's on it, who isn't on the eligibility list, but we're hoping to get the majority of the town. That's what we've been working towards and working and pushing hard for. So please be patient. In the meantime, if you are located, your property is located on a public road, you might have been getting calls from the county's been reaching out to encourage people to sign up with the program. So there's been phone calls from the ROE centers. There's been robo-texts and robo-calls. So I just wanted to let you know about the robo-texts and robo-calls. It's not a scam. And so if you do get a call from, if you get one of those from the county, please don't be alarmed. And it's just encouraging you to sign up, and that their property owners who are eligible must remove the hazard trees. This flyer is at the ROE table in the adjacent room. It's also at the Paradise Town table, so please take one. It's very simple. You either need to be in the government, sign up for the government program with a right of entry form, or fill out the private inspection access form. It's in order to take care of the trees yourself. And one of the questions we get a lot is, I removed all my trees, I really don't need to do anything. Well, you still need to fill out the inspection access form so that the town or the county, depending on where you live, can send an inspector out to make sure you've complied with the ordinance. So please, if you are on a public road, if you wouldn't mind enrolling, there are forms out in the adjacent room. Thank you very, very much. Also, wanted to let you know there's another important flyer out. Another problem that we've been getting a lot of calls out at Town Hall is questions about your insurance policy and solving the reconstruction pricing disputes. So United Policy Holders, they're a wonderful partner. They've agreed to come up. They will be here on Saturday, January 25th in Chico at St. John the Evangelist Church from 10:30 to 2. It requires that you RSVP, because when you RSVP, they will be contacting you to let you know exactly what they want you to bring And part of it is your insurance policy, and there'll be somebody to sit there and go through that with you to help you with some of the bigger hurdles you're having with your insurance company. So this flyer is also on the Town of Paradise table, and I know that the town has been also making phone calls, reaching out to people to let them know. Again, it's Saturday, January 25th, and it does require an RSVP. Again, thank you so much for your patience. It's an honor to serve you, and enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Susan Hartman. I'm the Community Development Director for the Town of Paradise, and I really appreciate you taking the time tonight to come hear about this. We're going to go over this residential site-built, sometimes called stick-built, checklist, and the goal here is just to give you, either as a homeowner or a contractor, a better understanding of this form, what it is we're looking for from you to help speed up that intake process and maybe clear up any confusion about any of these forms. So we're going to go there's actually a checklist, and we're going to go item by item. There's 10 checklist items on there, so that by the end of this, hopefully you'll have a better understanding of what each of these checklist items are. I'm going to set my timer because I've done these presentations before, and sometimes I go a little long, so want to be mindful of the other speakers. Okay, so on the first page, perfect. So if you haven't picked up a residential rebuild packet before, this is actually what the front page of it looks like for the stick-built packets. And it just kind of goes over some of the general overviews of the rebuild process. The very first item is about debris removal. It's both in terms of the actual fire debris removal, which for the most part is completed, and making sure that you have your certificate of completion from Butte County. And the other part is about the hazardous tree removal program, so that properties which are eligible for this first phase make sure that they get their right of entry or their inspection access form submitted. Also on here is a section about the pre-design screening that the town offers. That's in terms primarily of septic and zoning verification, making sure that your rebuild plans match the number of bedrooms that your septic's already been approved for that lot. There's also a maximum square footage for each size of septic. So making sure you're designing underneath that maximum square footage. Also taking a look at the zoning. There's a time frame in place right now, a 2-year time frame, where regardless of what your zoning is, you're able to rebuild a home on that same site that you had before. But after that 2-year period's up, the zoning really will matter in terms of, did you own a commercial lot that you had a house on, or industrial, and there might be some kind of use permit reconciliation we need to do. But it's still good for you to know, because remember that each zoning district has its own setbacks in terms of side yard setback, center line setback, rear setback. So it is information you should get up front before you actually start putting pen to paper for your site plans. Also about the pre-design screening are about special permit zones. And this is something that's special to Paradise. When we incorporated in 1979, right away we did a comprehensive storm drain study. And what that took a look at was just open storm drainage ways throughout town. And there are these areas that were identified that if we were to permit buildings in them, might impede the movement of stormwater. And those are called special permit zones. So if you have a building that would be located in one of those areas, it may require an elevation certificate for your structure, or a letter from an architect or an engineer, or engineer, I think those are the two, that say that your structure is out of the 100-year floodplain. So it's an additional item that we can look up for you ahead of time, so you know that that might be another piece of review that you need to get done before you submit. Also on there is about having a post-fire septic inspection. If your plan is to connect to your existing septic, we need evidence that it's working, and that would be an inspection that happened after the fire, because there are some septic tanks that did take damage, and same with leach lines. So if you haven't had that done yet, and your plan is to use the existing septic, make sure you get that inspected sooner rather than later, because you may need some of the area that you are going to rebuild on to do the repairs. Also on there is just a reminder that not only are you submitting paperwork to our building department, but you'll also be submitting paperwork to PG&E. We want to make sure we close that loop as far as utilities go. And then also, it also talks about the potential for deferred submittals. There's 2 application items that you have the potential to defer. That's your fire sprinkler plans and your truss calculations if you're not doing a cut and stack roof or rafters. But you want to make sure that you note on your plans that you're deferring those items. Otherwise, it just looks like you forgot them, and we'll send it back out as a correction. Next slide. So the next page of the checklist is the actual checklist. So on the left-hand side is where it details what plan sets we need and how many of each. And then on the right-hand side is just the general requirements. What scale do we want your site plans, floor plans? In what cases might you need engineering on your plans? And then also a reminder that all your plans have to be drawn to be compliant with the wildland urban interface requirements. And that's in regards to the fire-resistant nature of the exterior building materials. Again, this is something special for Paradise because of where it's located and us being designated as a very high fire severity zone. So it's true, you may not see these same requirements down in Chico or Oroville. Next slide. So the very first checklist item is the actual building application. And this is where you're identifying to us owner information, the professional information, whether that's an engineer, architect, designer, also contractor if you have one. And then on there, what I've circled down towards the bottom there is an area that sometimes is difficult to understand what it is we're asking for. So part of that is the occupancy groups. What that is in the building code, it lists different occupancy groups for conditioned space, which is the house, the part that's heated and cooled and habitable, and then also for storage areas. So what we're looking for here is if you're doing a house and a garage, your house is always going to be R3, your garage is going to be U. And if you don't know that, look at the title sheet, the cover sheet of your plans, because whoever drew them needs to put that information on your plans. Also on there is about what zoning district you're in. You can actually look that up online. We have a public-facing zoning map at townofparadisemapping.com. I think I've got it written up there on the left, so that you can check out your zoning for yourself. And there's actually a hyperlink when it spells out what your zone is that takes you to our municipal code, so you can actually read more about that specific zone. Also on there is type of construction, right? And that's based on the fire resistance rating. So most of the homes that we see in this area are rated 5B. The first letter is always done in Roman numerals. And that's for wood-framed houses. And again, if you don't know that, check the cover sheet for your plans because it'll need to be written on there. And then for the square footages, just list out separately between what square footage is your house, what square footage is your garage, covered patios. That's about all that we see on single family. Next slide. So the second checklist item is about submitting 3 signed sets of complete drawings. And we ask for 3 because 1 stays with us and we're working on archiving those so that we'll always have those on file, because I'm sure a lot of you have found out that we didn't keep floor plans pre-fire, but we invested in the infrastructure that we needed in order to be able to scan those and have those. And so we hold on to 1 set. You'll end up with an approved set to keep on the job site, and that's for our inspector to be referencing, because we certainly can't remember all 700 floor plans that we have in right now. And then also 1 set ends up going to the assessor. They keep record of these just for record-keeping purposes. I'm sure a lot of you have had to reach out to the assessor to find out what you had there pre-fire, and that's what they do, is they just track what dates we issued the permits, the square footages, so they have that in their record-keeping database also. And then just make sure that whoever drew the plans signed them, whether that's you, the contractor, the architect or engineer or designer. And then pages 3 through 8 in the checklist itself actually give you the detailed list of what do we want to see on your electrical plan, on your plumbing plan, on your foundation plan, so you know exactly what our plan checkers are looking for. Next slide. The next checklist item is 2 sets of structural calculations. And this is just if your project needed them. Not all of them do. But if you go outside of what's called conventional light frame construction in the California Residential Building Code, you'll need to have these additional structural calculations stamped by an engineer, plus they usually stamp the appropriate plan sets in your building packets. So this is usually what they look like, just like this, and you'll have 2 sets of them. We'll hold on to one, you'll get one back. Next slide. So checklist item 4, 2 sets of Title 24 energy calculations. And this is to show that your project as designed complies with the California energy standards, and they almost always look exactly like this. They're going to say Title 24 report on the top. 99% of the time, they're separate packets, just like the structural calcs. Once in a while, your designer may actually incorporate them into your plan sets. I'm familiar with one local engineer who does that, but it'll still look exactly like this. They're just laid out onto the big sheets. So make sure you got 2 copies. We'll keep one. You'll get one back. Checklist item 5 on the next page. 2 sets of truss calculations. So for your roof framing, you're either going to build it yourself, and we call that cut and stack or rafters, or you're going to buy pre-manufactured engineered trusses. And if that's the way you go, you end up with truss calculations that come in a separate booklet from your truss manufacturer. So if you're using trusses, again, we need 2 sets of those truss calcs, and this is one of the items that can be deferred. Make sure you note it on your plan, and then you'll just need to make sure you get them submitted and approved before your framing inspection. So on the next page, checklist item 6 is your surveyor certification. So this is a certification of either your existing survey pins, because there's still a lot of the town that was created through either a parcel map or a subdivision, and you already have property markers, and they just need to be verified by a surveyor. It's possible that they come out to verify those pins and they can't find them all, so they have to reset one, and that's called a corner record, and they'll go record that new pin they set with the county. And then the third option that a surveyor has is to actually do a record of survey when there is no pins out on the property. So they're going to pick one of those 3 options. Your surveyor fills out this form and they attach a copy of that map. And that's what we use in the building department to match against the site plan you submitted to make sure all those dimensions match up. So on the next page, checklist item 7A, it's actually one checklist item, grading and BMPs, and those are best management practices, but I broke it up into 2 sections. So first about the grading. So the grading is just 4 questions. It's about cuts and fills. Cuts where you're taking the soil out, fills where you're putting the soil in. We want to know, are you doing any cuts and fills in the building footprint? Yes or no, and those are 2 separate questions. Are you doing any cuts and fills outside of the building footprint? And for those outside of the building footprint, they give you a height and a slope cut, and then also cubic yardage. Because when you exceed some of those, you may need a grading permit from the engineering department. But for the cuts and fills that are within the building footprint, it's not that you'll need a grading permit, but it's possible that there may be compaction reports necessary. So that's why we're asking those questions. So that's what those 4 are about. And then on the back side of that is an acknowledgement form. And that has to do with the town's stormwater drainage systems and just the understanding that we have to keep runoff and pollutants out of that storm drain system. So you're just signing an acknowledgement that you understand you need to have best management practices in place on your job site to prevent any kind of runoff or sediment from leaving your job site. So that's what the acknowledgement's about. And then on the next side, this is actually some paperwork, on the next slide. For 7B, this is actually paperwork that you would hold on to. These are the BMPs, the best management practices that the towns put together for you to go through and pick what works best for your job site. So you would pick some from the erosion control, which is just about making sure the dirt stays where it's supposed to, so maybe some straw on there, revegetation. You'll pick some for erosion control to make sure that dirt that is moving around stays on the site, so maybe some of those wattles or silt fences. And then also about just good housekeeping practices, making sure that delivery trucks that are coming to and from your property aren't tracking that mud into the street. So there's some options for you. Again, just go through, pick some from each category that makes sense to you, that work for your job site, and our inspectors will just keep an eye out, make sure there's something in place when they come out. But that's it. So hold on to this sheet so you can reference it. One side is visual, so you can see what it actually looks like, and then the back side is a more lengthy description of what that item actually is, with some more references about how to find out more about them. So on the next checklist item, this is the completed C&D packet, and that is construction and demolition, and that's been part of the building codes now for at least the last 2 cycles. And they've been incrementally increasing the percentage of construction waste that needs to be diverted from the landfill. So they just don't want you throwing everything away. So you need to call out at least 65% of your construction and demolition waste and find another place for it, whether that's recycling or reuse somewhere. So what we're looking for on this form is on page 1 is just about your job site info, who you are, where you are, how you're going to sort the waste. Are you going to separate it into piles? Or are you just going to collect all of your stuff in one pile and sort it afterwards? Are you going to rent some 2-yard bins to sort it in? Just let us know what your plans are, and they can, don't have to be super detailed. And then the last bit on the first page is how you're going to educate either your contractors or your subcontractors. How are they going to know what recycling plan you've put in place? And it could be, I'm going to write it into my contract. I'm going to verbally tell them. I'm going to write something up and give it to them. I'll show them where those stacks are. We just want to know how you're going to pass on that information, right? So if you're an owner, how are you going to tell your contractors? And if you're the prime contractor, how are you going to tell your subs? And then on the back page, page 2, on the left-hand column, this is part of the submittal process, it gives you a whole list of different kinds of construction and demolition debris. So brick, tile, cardboard, glass, all these items. So any of them that might actually appear on your job site, we just need you to check mark, do you plan to landfill it, recycle it, or, oh lordy, with salvage? It's one of those 3. You just put a check mark. So on the cardboard, I'd hope you put recycle, and then look at the others and see. So salvage would be, I'm going to reuse that. I'll keep that. I can take it to my next job site, something like that, right? So you'll turn that into us with your packet. We're going to check it, and then we're going to give it back to you when we issue the permit. And you hold on to that, because at the end of your job, we're going to need it back with your actual tickets from places that you recycled at, places that you landfilled at, so that you can fill out the right column about where you actually took the materials and how much you took. Because we have to scan these and send them to CalRecycle at the state level. So it's very, very important that you keep your receipts. We have to show that we are doing our efforts to be compliant with the building code. So remember, this is a building code requirement, and so we are going to collect that information from you at the end, so I cannot stress to you the importance of keeping your receipts. So on the next slide is checklist item number 9, and that is 2 sets of fire sprinkler plans. For your fire sprinkler designer to actually design your plans, they need to know what the water pressure is at your site, and you're going to get that information from PID. You go to them to fill out the application to have a flow test done at where your meter was. You'll take that information and give it to your sprinkler designer so they can design your sprinkler system. This is the other item that can be deferred because we do know there is a wait with PID. So again, if you need to defer fire sprinklers, put it on your plan. And then again, we need to have your plan submitted and approved prior to framing on this. If you are doing a multifamily or commercial development, you'll not only get the flow test from PID, but you'll apply for the fire flow at the fire station also. And that's more in terms of the hydrant location, the hydrant flow, and turnaround for the engines. But single family homes, you're only going to go to PID to get those numbers. And then the last checklist item, number 10, this is one that we've added onto our checklist because we felt that we were not closing the loop on all of the entities that homeowners needed to work with to make sure that you had all of your sign-offs before the final inspection. So we've got a checklist item here to remind the contractors when they're submitting, not only do you need to submit to the town, but immediately submit, you'll contact PG&E to request service and submit an electronic site plan. They need to see where you're proposing to put utilities so they can figure out where they're bringing the line into your home. So this one's very important. There's a phone number and a website. Either way will work for them. And then we're going to be requesting what your PG&E service application number is before we issue the permit. So you'll just tell us what that number. We'll record it just so we know you've contacted, because the last thing we want to do is get towards final inspection and then find out you haven't started your process with PG&E yet. So that's the last checklist item on there. And just on the last slide for you just to make note of, if you ever had any questions during the process, you're welcome to visit our building department. It's open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they've got on the next slide. And then they've also got a dedicated phone number, 872-6291, extension 123. If they can't catch the phone live, they will get back to you. If you just give them the information you're looking for, they'll track down those answers for you and give you a call back. So I'm hoping that that clarified some of the forms for you. After our presentation here, we'll be over in the gymnasium. I'll be there, our building official will be there also, and we'll be happy over in the gym to answer any specific questions you may have about your job sites. So thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Rick Lopes. I am with the Contractors State License Board. We are the state agency that oversees the contractors, and I know you've gotten a lot of information here. I want to give a warning to our people with the slides. We probably aren't going to go through all the slides. That was a lot to take in, I know, with Susan's presentation, a lot of important information. So I'm going to kind of cut back on ours a little. We are obviously here and we'll be able to answer questions, have a lot of information that you can take with you about the process of hiring a contractor, the laws that are in place to help protect you as you look to hire a contractor. But I don't want to overwhelm you and feel, you need to focus on the things that the folks here in Paradise have just given you. So we're just going to talk about just some of the very basics. And if we can go ahead and go to the first slide. Obviously, it really doesn't play into account here, but just so you know, is a contractor's license is required for any construction or home improvement job that totals $500 or more. Obviously, everything we're talking about that needs to be done here is going to be well in excess of $500. So the license is really a given, and you need to make sure that it's a California license. There's going to be situations where we have contractors coming in from out of state to try to get some of the work here. They need to have a license here in California. So if it's a Nevada license, an Oregon license, another state further east, they need to have a California license. We do have agreements with a number of other states that help streamline the process, but you want to make sure they have a California license. The best way to check the license is to come to our website, and that's cslb.ca.gov. If we can just switch to the next slide. The law says that contractors must have their license in all advertising. That everything from, if you see a truck parked somewhere, it's got their name on it and a phone number and a website, they need to have their contractor's license number on it. It needs to be a flyer that you may come across, a business card, anything that is advertising for the company needs to have their contractor's license number. That's going to be a number that's likely going to be either 6 digits long or 7 digits long. A couple of years ago, we hit our 1 millionth license, so the licenses have now expanded into the millions. So the vast majority, I mean, if you come up across a contractor whose license is only 5-digit long, that means they've probably been in business for 40 or 50 years. So maybe that's a good sign if you do see that. But to be aware, so you're going to want to look for that license before you get anybody to come give you a bid. You're going to want to go to our website, make sure that that contractor is properly licensed. You'll be able to see the name. It should match the name that they're advertising with. If you see that they're in a different part of the state, obviously not something you'd want to cancel looking at them for, because obviously people are coming in from out of the area to try to help out with the rebuild here. But you want to find out the information that you can there. It also shows something that's important. I'll just mention on this slide. You go to our website. Here's the way you find the license lookup. I see there's red circles around it. That's the license check is the far left one. You plug that in. You can either search by the contractor's license number. So if you see a license number somewhere, just plug that number in. It'll give you all their license information. You can also go by business name, which isn't necessarily the best way because companies could have the same business, or it may be ABC Contractors, but maybe in our system they entered it as A period, B period, C period, so it's not always the best way. You can also look up by personnel name. The contractor who is on that license is going to have their name. You could search by that. By far, though, the best way is to search by the license number. The other feature, if you're just starting and trying to find a list of potential contractors that you might want to contact, we have a feature on the website. It's the second red circle there on the website. It's called Find My Licensed Contractor. What you can put is you can put in your criteria. If you're here in the town of Paradise, you can put in Paradise as the location. And if you're looking for a general contractor, that's called our B classification. You can put that in, hit the button, and you'll get a list of all the contractors in the town of Paradise that currently have an active license. So that's another way to build a list if you're having problems, just trying to identify some potential people to come out and give you a bid. Let's go to the next slide, please. As far as license classifications, it's a takeaway that you're going to want to know about. In California, we've got contractors in 44 different classifications. The main ones that you're going to be looking for, again, are the B contractors. Those are the general building contractors. They can oversee the building of a house. They can also sub out or hire other contractors to assist. Those subcontractors are going to be what are called a C classification. So you'll see an A, which is engineering contractors. Those are most of the people that build the roads, the dams, or if a job has a lot of engineering that goes into it, they would have to have an A license. The B license is your general contractors. The C license are the specialty contractors. That's where you've got, like I've got up here the example, a C10 is an electrical contractor. A C36 is a plumbing contractor. So if you're going to hire a general building contractor to oversee your project, and they're going to be using subcontractors, they're going to be going to hire some of those specialty. If they need somebody to do just the electrical, they're going to hire somebody with an electrical license to do it. So as a homeowner, what you're going to want to know going into this is to find out from the contractor, are you going to be doing all the work yourself, or are you going to be subbing them out to other different classifications? And you're going to want to get a list of all those subs, and you're going to want to make sure they're properly licensed. So not only the contractor, but you're going to want to make sure that all the subs are properly licensed. And another thing that you're also going to be able to find this on our license lookup is you want to make sure that the contractors, if they have employees, you want to make sure that those employees are covered by workers' compensation insurance. When you look up the license on our website, that's one of the items. By law, they either have to notify the contractors board that they have no employees and they're exempt from having to have workers' comp insurance, or they have to provide us, their insurance company provides us with their policy number and that basic information. That shows up on the license lookup. You're going to see one of those two things. So if you see a contractor and it shows that they're exempt because they have no employees, but they come out and give you a bid and tell they're going to have a crew of 10 people working out on your job, there's a clear disconnect. Now, maybe they just forgot to turn in the paperwork, but you do want to follow up with them. Actually try to get a copy of that policy. If you're not clear, contact the insurance company. Make sure it's not unusual, that contractors, if they're not really ethical, that they may get a very basic policy that might cover a couple of people, but they've actually got a lot more people working on the job to try to keep their costs down. So for any of these jobs, I would encourage you to go ahead and contact the insurance company, make sure that the policy is going to be covering everybody that's going to be working on your job. Another thing I'll notice on all the slides in the bottom left, you're seeing our website address, the cslb.ca.gov. That's where all this information and much, much more. I also guide you to, we do have a section on our website called our Disaster Help Center, which is a good place to start. And if you go to the homepage, you see in the graphic on the right, I've got a red circle around that part of it. It's got a big backhoe there. But you click on that, and you can go to our disaster page. One of the items we have there that might be worth spending 25 minutes with us is we've got a very general 25-minute video that guides you through the construction and hiring a contractor process. So that certainly is worthwhile to spend a few minutes and just start getting familiar with that process. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. I did want to note a few of the construction scams to be aware of, and some of these we are starting to see here in the Paradise area, so you do want to be aware of these kinds of things. Obviously, because you're here tonight learning about the process and going through, you've taken a huge step to make sure you're going to be protected from getting ripped off by unscrupulous or unlicensed contractors. Now, often the unlicensed people are going to be going door to door, or they're going to be looking for you when you're out there. You know, obviously, if you don't have a door for them to knock on, they'll be walking around the neighborhoods trying to solicit you or come upon you and try to say that they can help you out. They'll lie about their experience. They'll try to you know, they understand that there may be a limited amount of contractors here in the area able to do the work, and they will try to sweet talk you. They're very good salespeople, but you want to keep your common sense with you. You want to make sure that they're licensed, and you want to ask a lot of questions. The other thing to be aware of is the people coming up here to get work in some cases are licensed contractors, but they may have just recently gotten their license, and there may be some concern that, you know, obviously not all contractors are created equal. Contractors can do a whole different range of work. Some contractors focus on rebuilding homes or new builds, which are the kinds of things that are happening here. Other contractors are just used to doing maybe a kitchen, you know, putting up cabinets in a kitchen addition or a bathroom addition. They may not have experience actually building a home. So if they're a B contractor, that's the right classification, but you need to go beyond that and ask questions. You want to make sure that they've actually either built a home before or they've actually overseen and subbed that out, that they have the experience. You want to go just, you know, beyond. The B license itself is the very basic minimum just to get their foot in the door to be able to try to get the work from you. But you need to be careful. You need to ask the right questions. Now, you want to make sure that the people, the other scams we see is they don't offer a written contract. They say they can do it without filling out the building permits and pulling building permits. As you just saw in Susan's presentation, there's a lot of steps that you need to go through to make sure this is done right. The last thing you want to do is try to get somebody who's going to be getting around the rules, because they're going to take advantage of you, and this is it. The house is not going to be a good quality house, and you're not going to be happy with how it comes out. Also, be aware if they're asking you to pay cash, or they offer to drive you to the bank. They ask you a lot of questions about your insurance settlements, how much money you have. You'll be surprised on how often, in this case, they'll ask you how much you've gotten, and, well, what a coincidence, exactly how much it's going to cost for me to do this job. So keep your common sense with you, and be careful, too, if they ask you on things about signing over insurance payments. You also want to be aware if you see bills coming to you and they're starting to bill you for items that you didn't agree to. Things like maybe travel. If they're out of the area and they have to travel, and all of a sudden you see charges coming to you for their travel costs. Maybe they needed to buy new equipment and they're charging you for that. A good contractor, builds in the price. When a contractor is going to give you a contract that you sign and you agree to have a job done for a certain amount of money, they agree to do the job for that amount of money. Now, if material prices go up, other things change, they are committed to that price to build the house for you. So you want to have that spelled out. You also want to have things called progress payments. You want to have things spelled out at different points in your job. You want to then, when it gets done to your satisfaction and it passes the permits and the inspections, you pay them for that portion of the job. When you get to the next spot, when that gets done to your satisfaction, passes inspections, you pay them for that part of the job. Don't let the money get ahead of the payments. Don't let the payments get ahead of the job that's being done. The law does not allow them to charge you for work that has not yet been done or materials that have not yet been delivered. So your money is your best leverage as you move through this process. So if you've got a contractor that is, ask them about that. If they're not willing to agree to that, look for the next contractor. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Ask questions. Like I said, keep your common sense. Have somebody with you. It's always good to have two people to be able to bounce that off if you're able to, and be sure to take notes. Don't let somebody to pressure you into hiring them, making an immediate decision. This is probably the biggest investment, the biggest thing you're going to be doing in your life as far as building a new home, and you want to take your time. You want to also ask for references and check them in person. This kind of goes to what I mentioned a few moments ago about contractors if they haven't actually done the job. They could give you references, and they'll say, yeah, call him, I built the house for them. And it's actually a buddy of theirs. It's nobody they built the house for. So if you have the opportunity, you want to try to see the job. And maybe if it's a larger builder, they have multiple projects underway, you might want to ask them for some references from houses that are in various parts of construction. Maybe something that's done, something that's midway, something that's in the early thing. Ask how do they show up for the job? How do they do with payments? Do they give you lien releases? And there's a lot of different things that you can ask and try to find out so you're comfortable. A good contractor is going to be more than willing to put you in contact with people they've worked for in the past. If they've done a good work, that's their best form of advertising. So take advantage of that and be skeptical if they don't want to give you references. Next slide, please. As far as getting bids, we would suggest you get at least 3 and compare the prices, and don't sign the estimate. That's not a contract. You'd be surprised how many times somebody gives you an estimate that you sign and they use that as a contract, so be careful, don't sign that. The thing you see up here on the screen, this is what's called a pocket license. All contractors are required to carry this with them, and you should definitely ask any contractor that you're considering is to ask them to see their pocket license. The red circles I have here, these are the things you should look for. This card is about the size of a credit card, small plastic card. At the top there in green, you see that it's an active license. Contractors' licenses are good for 2 years. They have to be renewed every 2 years. So you definitely want to take a look, and you'll see that on our license lookup. Make sure that the license is in active status. You also want to have the license number. I've got the circle there, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, that's either the 6 or 7 numbers. You see the business name. The classifications, as I mentioned, we have 44 classifications. This one happens to be a C16, which is the fire suppression, the sprinkler people. But we have booklets here, and there's lists online that show all the different classifications. And then you see the expiration date on the license. So definitely you want to take a look at that. Ask them to see that card. Ask them to, if you want to see a picture ID. Make sure it's the same person. If they say, oh, I forgot to carry that card with me, that's a red flag for you. Also be aware that, especially if you do have somebody that it shows up in their license lookup that they are somebody from out of the area, say San Diego, it's not unusual for unlicensed people to actually, let's say it's a John Smith construction. This guy happens to be named John Smith, but it's not the John Smith who's a contractor in San Diego. He tries to pass himself off as somebody who has a license. Also be aware of somebody who says, I'm working under somebody else's license. Your contractor's license is like your driver's license. People can't work under your license unless, of course, they're a bona fide employee. And there's certainly ways that you can find out if they're a bona fide employee. People can't share licenses, so be aware of people that are trying to pass themselves off that way. A couple final things, because I do want you to get opportunities to come meet us and ask your questions. So as far as insurance companies, remember you do not need to hire the contractor that your insurance company may refer you to. You certainly can, but you're not required to. As I mentioned earlier, don't tell the prospective contractors how much money the insurance company is giving you. Again, make sure this isn't the first time you've built a house. I'll kind of stop it there. Again, I do want you to have the opportunity to come meet with us. I know there's a lot of information to take in, but just take heart in. There's a lot of people here that are helping you through the process. The folks in the town of Paradise. I mean, I've been unfortunately to similar communities all around the state where we've had serious fires and we've had a lot of people who've lost their homes. I can tell you honestly, I don't think I've seen a better checklist and a better guide than I've seen what the people here in Paradise have put together for you. We understand that it's not a simple process, but take your time. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't feel like you have to do this on your own. There are a lot of people here to support you and to help you through this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. All right, I'd also like to have everybody give a big round of applause to Susan and Laura and Rick for their time up here tonight. And as a reminder, the checklists are available at the makeitparadise.org website. That is the official Town of Paradise rebuild site. So Please visit there. It's under the Rebuild tab, which is the first one to the left, the top green navigation that you'll see right in there. And there's a list of them that you can pull down, and there's all sorts of information there, and we're constantly updating that information. Also, to let you know, you see the little icon over there for newsletter. While you're there, if you haven't already, please sign up to receive our email updates. We're going to be putting out a lot of information this year about rebuilding, so you're definitely going to want to be able to be on that list to get the information. You'll also be updated on more meetings such as this every month. So right now, I'd like to invite you all to go through the back hallway into the gym where there are an entire room full of contractors who would love to meet you. Thank you again for coming, and we'll see you all the first Tuesday in February. Take care.